Elder in Guatemala dreams of becoming part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will change your own. Unbound.org.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening and welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast on WIBC. My name is Tony Kinnett. Let's begin. It has been a crazy time, but Speaker Mike Johnson is definitely on the march. According to Marjorie Taylor Greene, Secretary of State Mayorkas is going to be facing an impeachment vote in the upcoming week, and it certainly doesn't stop there. Things are getting wild all over in the House as President Joe Biden's son Hunter, as well as a host of other Biden family officials, have been subpoenaed for a series of crimes the Biden administration is becoming increasingly pained in trying to deny. The House is all kinds of a mess right now because of the bleeding from congresswomen who are getting censured for their anti-Semitic comments, and we're going to get to that in just a second. First and foremost, I have to share a little something special with you. Last night's debate, hosted by NBC for the Republican primary, to me, because, and some of you may not know this, NBC's not historically very friendly to Republicans. In fact, they're very unfriendly to Republicans. And although during the break they were trying to fact-check statements like DeSantis saying he sent a plane to Israel to collect American citizens and bring them home in the initial days of the Israel-Gaza-Hamas war, and NBC said that was mostly true because DeSantis didn't actually fly the plane, NBC actually ran a very clean debate. At this point, there are only 5 candidates left, and things are certainly not slowing down, except I'm a little confused as to why Chris Christie was on stage at all. Chris Christie is polling just phenomenally low. He was polling like Mike Pence was polling. Tim Scott, really nice guy, shouldn't have been on stage either. Basically, the GOP primary debate was a lot like tetherball. You had Ron DeSantis on one side, you had Vivek Ramaswamy on the other side, and they were both smacking Nikki Haley back and forth trying to destroy her, and she wasn't doing herself any favors. Nikki Haley's performance was abysmal. At one point, Vivek was criticizing her warmongering policies, of which she's very, very much a warmonger, and at one point said that he called her Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels, which was a pretty great dig. A few minutes later, Nikki Haley responded by saying, "Yes, I wear heels. These heels are not for show, they are ammunition." And the entire internet still to this moment has no idea what that means. I don't know. If you know what she meant by her heels are ammunition, if you could just shoot me an email to tony.kinnett@dailysignal.com. Operators are standing by. We're very concerned. Other than that, I know that a lot of my other hosts at WIBC were impressed by Vivek Ramaswamy's performance. It was not good. He had a lot of quippy lines, and he definitely threw out a lot of punches, but none of the things that he said made sense. There was not one question that was asked to him that he answered directly. When he was asked how many ships the U.S. Navy needed to compete with China, he didn't have a number, while every other candidate did, had a formula for how we needed to build our Navy. When Vivek was asked about anti-Semitism on Jewish campuses, he kind of ran around the question and shifted all other conversation. When he was asked about Israel, he flipped the question to the southern border. Vivek really did a poor job because Vivek is not running for president. Vivek Ramaswamy is running for one reason and one reason alone. He is running to be Donald Trump's vice president. And for the first few weeks, I said she. That was a Freudian slip. Nikki Haley was also originally running to be Donald Trump's vice president, but things have changed. She's kind of become Mike Pence 2.0. And it's a very weird place because right now the Democrats are shooting themselves in the feet left and right. And you would think that in Donald Trump's rally during the debate, he might have something to say that was positive, but Trump kind of hemmed and hawed and kind of talked about the indictments and kind of talked about Joe Biden and really didn't focus on what the plan is going forward for the GOP, which should be a fair amount of concern. And the reason this should be a fair amount of concern is we just had a serious election in which Republicans were obliterated in almost every single state. Even in Indiana, we had city elections that flipped blue. There's no plan currently on the table for GOP moving forward. And the only thing that the GOP currently can agree on is that Ronna McDaniel, head of the Republican National Convention, needs to step down. Meanwhile, in Congress, things are getting rather weepy. I'm sure many of you have seen this, but Representative Rashida Tlaib from Michigan, who has said that Israel is a terrorist state, that it needs to be wiped off the map. A lot of other really disgusting comments, praising Hamas, praising the genocidal phrases that organization uses. Congress, including 20 Democrats, voted to censure her. Now, for those of you that may not be up on the congressional lingo, a censure just means kind of a strong letter reprimand. We don't like what you're doing. Hey, watch it, Buster. It's good when you have an individual that's perhaps made some mistakes, like, let's say, driving drunk as an Indiana representative, just, throwing names out there.
And worry that your own child might suffer the horrors that 6-year-old Wadia did in Illinois.
So Rashida starts off after being censured by the House saying that Islamophobia is running rampant because this Islamic family was attacked by this insane person in Illinois. And it's fine to mention that there are serious events of violence going on around the country and that you condemn those. But it is interesting that Rashida Tlaib has not yet mentioned one of the Jewish people in this country that have been beaten, that have been killed, buildings that have been driven through in attempts of mass genocide and anti-Semitism, hasn't mentioned the loss of innocent life in Israel, and refrained for as long as possible about even mentioning the Israeli catastrophe that they suffered at the hands of Hamas. But all of a sudden, she has a few things to say about being Palestinian. Take a listen.
I can't believe I have to say this, but Palestinian people are not disposable.
For those of you that are listening, she starts to break down and cry. Because, everyone in Congress has said Palestinian people are disposable. Oh, wait, that's actually no one. But here she goes. Ilhan Omar's going to get up and comfort her, pat her. Such a moment of unity from Congress.
We are human beings, just like anyone else.
Again, no one is contesting this. No one is. There has not been a single person out there that has accused any Palestinian individual of not being human. There is no one out there that says that innocent people need to die. Hamas is the group that is hiding behind the innocent people in Palestine. You would think that Tlaib, on the side of Palestinians, assumedly, would say, therefore, Hamas needs to unconditionally surrender so the people of Palestine can be safe. No. And it's going to continue this way. This is a member of Congress, and the Oppression Olympics are just beginning. Up next, we're going to be talking a little bit with Shoshana Weissman from R Street Institute about a lot of the regulatory reform and a path to victory that Republicans actually could take in 2024. You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
We feel.
Do you feel like we do? Feel it as soon as you step out the door.
Hey, Tony.
You feel.
Bundle up. Feels like winter.
It could be more like summertime.
Do you feel like we do?
All the feels.
It feels a little like winter.
Feels more like summer.
Of fall.
It's kind of the clash of two seasons.
Weather. When you need it.
The ebbs and flows this time of the year is so evident.
On your official fall weather station. 93 WIBC.
With tens of thousands of satisfied patients across America, it's no surprise QC Kinetics gets 5-star reviews.
I'm feeling on top of the world because of QC Kinetics.
I'm able to do the things that I wasn't able to do for a long time.
I can recommend them highly. I would recommend QC to anybody.
QC Kinetics has changed my life.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly was skeptical, but the pain went from a 10 to a 0.
Real people with real lasting relief from joint pain.
QC Kinetics Regenerative Medicine is regenerating me.
Super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
This non-surgical approach is definitely the future.
I tell as many people as possible. I am an ambassador. I love QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. No drugs, no surgery. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN.
Tiffany absolutely hated her job.
I was living paycheck to paycheck on a dead-end job that I did not like.
She'd been considering a change with My Computer Career.
I was able to qualify for financial aid.
Just 2 nights a week in a classroom and studying from anywhere online opened up a whole new world to her.
I get job offers all the time. IT is practically recession-proof.
Become an IT pro in just months with 0 experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
I highly recommend My Computer Career.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu. This is 1 student's experience. Individual results vary.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been solving garage door problems for 33 years. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577.
Service today.
Tony Katz here for 459 Barber Lounge. You want to look your best? You got to go to the best. 459 has highly skilled barbers and stylists with over 100 years of combined experience. They've been serving Indy for over 20 years. They take care of me, and you're going to love your look after a visit to 459 Barber Lounge. They sell beer and wine, and they're open 7 days a week. Newly expanded, newly renovated, across from the Fashion Mall on 86th Street. 459online.com. That's 459online.com. Tell them Tony Katz sent you.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because only the Sleep Number Climate 360 smart bed lets you each sleep up to 13 degrees cooler or warmer on either side, while you both sleep at your ideal level of firmness, comfort, and support, your Sleep Number setting. And now our all-new next-gen smart beds have temperature benefits, so you sleep better night after night. And now, during our Veterans Day sale, save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
When a client comes to our firm after an accident, we have the awesome responsibility of returning what was taken away from them. Loss of income and earning potential, past and future medical bills, pain and suffering, the loss of the enjoyment of life. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Our clients don't seek charity, they seek justice. They're looking to have their life back and property restored. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about your legal rights. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.
Hi, this is Beth Rovazini with B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Nominate a veteran to win a free water heater, and you may win one too. Just go to veteransdaygiveaway.com.
The Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. For hunting, sporting, and personal protection gear, visit the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I am not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, yeah. I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
We're all different. 1 in 5 of us live with a mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Talk to someone you trust. Learn more at bringchangetomind.org.
This hour powered by B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, your American Standard Air dealer.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Feels like I'm losing it.
I got this brand new life, don't know what to do.
Good evening and welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast. I'm Tony Kinnett, joined by the great senator from East Virginia, that's Shoshana Weissman. She's from our state and is one of the leading minds when it comes to regulatory reform. And before you turn off the monitor and you go into snooze land because you hear regulatory reform or you hear economics and you decide that it's time to go to sleep, don't. Because as I pointed out in the very first episode of this show, to be a good candidate, you need to do two things well. Not one thing, two things well. Number one, you absolutely have to make sure that you are good at governing. All of the culture war stuff in the world doesn't matter if you're not good at governing. And then at the same time, you not only need to have good governance skills, but you also need to know how to communicate that. You have to fight on behalf of the culture war and the people that you're working with. And the expert when it comes to good governance is Shoshana. So first of all, tell us what you're up to over at our state.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm having a lot of fun. I just released a report on lawyer licensing reform. It's a little different than others because basically the legislature and the executive regulate every other profession. Lawyers get to regulate themselves. So there's really not a ton of reform there. There's some stuff starting, but I put together a report on just some simple things to do to make it a little bit better. You know, let people work across state lines. Continuing legal education, which every lawyer knows and hates, doesn't work. I've read reports and it just doesn't work at all. So I'm doing a bunch of stuff like that. And then just social media regulation. A lot of people want to regulate it really hard, but it's not functional and it doesn't do what they think it will. And it'll just kind of stop competition. So I'm trying to be like, hey, let's think through this a little more before we do this. So a lot of that.
Right, definitely social media stuff is something that we'll touch on, if not in this short bit in the next couple of weeks, because this is something that you and I wholeheartedly agree on, and it's a mess right now. In fact, I wrote an article a couple of weeks ago on how frustrated FERPA, which is the education HIPAA law, as I've joked about before, not what it was written for, but the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, built to give parents access to their kids' school records, has become this kind of flag that schools get to pull whenever they're asked questions by the media these days to prevent anyone asking any questions about their actions. Well, the problem is, like many regulatory laws, they were not built with the future in mind, like our Constitution was. Our Constitution was forward-thinking. Regulations from bureaucratic industries really aren't. They're kind of what's going on right now. They do everything short of naming names, and they just kind of ramrod things through. And this is why regulatory reform is so important. And look, a lot of people that I talk to, parenting groups, whether it's in education, whether it's economic reform people or foreign policy reform, talking about how we change immigration ideas and who we're bringing into the country and why, they want to write some catch-all law that you snap your fingers and it's like the genie from Aladdin, let's have some magic. And then all of a sudden it's fixed and everyone's fine. But it doesn't work that way. And as you can tell us better than anyone, regulatory reform is a slow process, not because you're dragging your heels, but often because these regulatory practices are decades and decades of this big bowl of intertwining knotty spaghetti, and you have to untangle it first in order to fix it. Tell us a little bit about how regulatory reform works in general.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, even when you get to new regulations, I try to remind people, hey, here's where this can end up if we don't do it right, which is why it's so important that it's done right. But
right, you're giving someone a bat to swing. You have to be very careful in how that bat swings.
Exactly. You can wreck the house or you can hit a ball. It kind of depends where you do it. That's a really good way to put it. But you're exactly right. It's a really big issue that I see, and it's always the same kind of issues. One is that even when there's good regulations on the books, they're not enforced. So regulations are just not enforced. But regulators really like barriers to entry, and they like to enforce them. They don't like to enforce regular regulations quite as much. Unless it
kind of like the federal gun laws right now, where we have people slipping through the system. We're not even enforcing the mental health concern checks that enabled the shooter.
I was reading about that in the Dispatch, and I'm like, this is another example of enforcement isn't happening. It's barriers to entry, but for getting licensed and stuff like that. But another less high stakes one is salons. It's you have to have an occupational license to cut hair, to do makeup and all that kind of stuff. But if your salon is full of dangerous bacteria, they don't really care. There's tons of health inspections. They won't really shut you down unless it's really, really egregious. Even with food safety stuff, a lot of times they just kind of half it. They're like, oh, well, we'll check if it gets like really bad, like if there's rats everywhere.
Which is so weird because if you remember, when we were kids, half the cartoons had an episode with the health inspector.
Oh, yeah,
like
they
SpongeBob
still do.
had an episode, Homestar Runner. There were all of these episodes where like, oh, the health inspector's coming, he's going to shut us down. But it doesn't really work like that anymore. I mean, you have New York restaurants where cockroaches are literally serving the food to the customers. It's like,
they're good workers,
Nothing's being enforced. But yet Democrats and Republicans want to come through. In Indiana, we have a lot of Republicans that want to start bringing forth new regulation. Like all of the sudden, a new law in the books is suddenly going to stop schools from teaching critical race theory, or stop businesses from cheating on perhaps safety regulations and things. But, God forbid you let someone open up a hair salon and instantly be infested with mites and lice and lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the regulatory state at both the federal and the state levels are just not made to enforce, which is a really big problem because we have all these unenforced regulations. So then you get selective enforcement against people government doesn't like. And when you get to reform them, there's all these people who think just horrible things are going to happen if they go away. So you kind of
net neutrality.
Yeah, exactly. Same idea. But a lot of people know that a lot more. But even with lawyer licensing reform, I wasn't sure what we were going to get in this awesome Utah regulatory sandbox, but it's amazing. The rates of the harm-related complaint rate against non-lawyers practicing law is way lower than the one for lawyers, which is incredible. It's still pretty aggressive oversight, and it's still, a sandbox, so they know they're being watched a little more. But I think there's been one harm-related complaint for over 6,000 services. That's incredible. That's just amazing. And when they started, I wasn't even thinking it would be this good. But if you have a sandbox, or if you can just get rid of a regulation slowly, or show, hey, this other state doesn't have this regulation and they're fine, all those sources of data can really help. Even when the federal government reforms licensing from within and allows nurse scope of practice to expand, or allows nurses to practice independently, you still get a little bit more oversight. Not that the VA is a great system, but the VA did allow nurses to do more and treat people. And that part of the VA has worked really well. And it's kind of incredible. You can make these little reforms, let people work across state lines, and then rates of harm don't go up and everything's okay and there's more competition. So it's something you really do need to go about slowly, because if something really big and bad were to happen, everyone would freak out and then you would lose all potential for reform. But if you do
Chernobyl and nuclear power, or 3 Mile Island.
And now we're only getting back into nuclear power ideas now, which is sad, but
Right, because of how fantastic it is. But I really want to put a pin in that specifically. It really frustrates me because the right, and really the country as a whole, does a really horrible job of pointing out when things don't go wrong. I mean, it's very easy for me as a journalist to write an article and say, this has all gone terribly wrong. But, like you said, with Utah's regulation reform with lawyers, things didn't go belly up in a couple of weeks like everyone was running around saying that they would. Yet there are no articles saying, hey, everything ended up being fine. And the reason I bring that up is in Indiana, a nurse practitioner still cannot practice by herself. She has to have a collaborating physician who often doesn't check in with the practice, provides no credibility to the practice, yet they get to stamp their name on it and reap the reward from it. And the majority of nurse practitioners that I know are far more invested than the majority of doctors that I know. Now, that's not a blanket statement. That's just from nurse practitioners that I've come into contact with. They do a lot of active boots on the ground research that a lot of doctors who are more specialty focused maybe don't have to.
Yeah.
Shoshana Weissman, thanks for hopping on. We'll have you back real soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place for 2 days straight. 3. It's because of the Xfinity 10G network. Internet that can handle a house full of screens at once, with basically no interruptions. And it's only getting faster. When I was their age, internet like this was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Please go home.
The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through November 15th, new customers can get 75 megabit internet on the next generation Xfinity 10G network for just $20 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service. Actual speeds vary.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here from Sullivan Hardware and Garden. Join us this Saturday for our annual Turkey Fest. Grilled turkey, fried turkey, trash can turkey. Just how many ways do we prepare turkey? Well, come find out this Saturday at our 71st and Keystone store. Pick up your copy of the Turkey Fest coupons for added savings like 25% off any gift shop decor item. Look at our pre-lit artificial Christmas trees. At Sullivan Hardware and Garden, you can actually see 150 different styles of artificial trees already reduced 30%. And at our 71st and Keystone store, climb aboard the Sullivan Express and visit Santa. Book your tickets at sullivanhardware.com. Visit our gift shop, the Yellow House at Sullivan's, for additional savings on Christmas gifts, ornaments, collectibles, and accents. Shop, play, experience. Christmas with Sullivan's. 71st and Keystone, 49th and Penn in Cicero, and Allisonville Home and Garden by Sullivan in Fishers.
Fall in Indy, and if you hate painting year after year, do what your neighbor Edwina did. She called Rhino Shield.
Over the years, I just got to the point where I couldn't spend any more money on the outside of the house. And when I saw Rhino Shield, I thought that was the answer to my problem.
And Rhino Shield's a ceramic coating, better than paint.
I'd had painters here before, and it was usually quite a disaster, but Rhino Shield was right on it.
Our 25% off special has been extended through November. Plus, receive a free TV up to 75 inches just by having your job done by spring of 2024.
The gentleman said, if you're interested, give me a call. And I said, honestly, can you come tomorrow?
Remember, you have until the end of November to receive 25% off. Plus, get your job done by spring of 2024 and receive a free TV. Restrictions apply. Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
The next generation of streaming is here. Introducing Spectrum One Stream. Get 300 megabit internet for $49.99 a month, including advanced Wi-Fi, and one unlimited mobile line free for 12 months. And when you add Spectrum TV, get a Zumo Stream Box free for 12 months. Spectrum One Stream. It's streaming simplified. Visit spectrum.com for details. Offer subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
Terry Stacy here. It's holiday time, and that means honey baked ham. Slow smoked for 24 hours, spiral sliced for easy serving, then fire glazed right in the store to create that sweet, crunchy glaze they're famous for. Honey Baked makes it easy to serve family and friends the best with holiday meal bundles that include turkey or ham, delicious sides, and decadent desserts. Taste the Honey Baked tradition with 2 Central Indiana locations, West 96th Street and Michigan Road, and East Greyhound Pass in Carmel.
It's Black Friday at B Window. Up to 52% off, plus 10% in manufacturer rebates on all products for a limited time only. Go to bwindow.com today.
Awful tweets, the ones that no one ever deletes. Awful tweets on the Tony Kinnett Show.
On 93 WIPC.
That's right. It's time for awful tweets, because when it comes to tweets, and they're always going to be called tweets. I know it's called X now. There is no shortage of the stupidest of the stupid, the boldest of the bold, and the oldiest of the mold dropping their garbage opinions online. And when it comes to journos dropping their garbage opinions, Jerry and I, that's Indy Spanglish over on Twitter X, we've got you covered. This is a show that everyone wanted to come back, Jerry, from the Tony Kinnett Show earlier in March. Man, are you glad to be back?
I'm super happy to be back. And listen, these people wanted attention, so we're here to give it to them.
Well, we're going to start off with a real banger. This is from Cenk Uygur, who runs the Young Turks, so you know it's going to be good. He says, Hamas uses human shields is the weakest, lamest, most overused talking point in history. Okay, even if that were true, is the answer to kill the human shields? I would never kill a human shield in a hostage situation. What kind of monster would? So, obviously, this is in reference to Hamas hiding their bases of operation on purpose beneath hospitals, mosques, and forcing their civilians to stay there. Tell me, Jerry, what do you think about men who use human shields?
you can't defeat in the military if you want to play by the rules like this. Now, if you're a man and you're hiding behind a woman and children, I would say that you probably shouldn't identify as a man anymore, because there's nothing weaker than putting up some little 7-year-old girl and hiding behind her. So, no, completely disagree with that. But how about this one? This is from the Washington Post, Tony, and we're going to stay right there on the Hamas line. They showed a resident. Yeah, they show a resident of Israel, and they say in an apartment in Tel Aviv on Thursday, 2 of her children have been detained by Hamas.
Detained? Like detention?
Detained. Yeah, like
when you're pulled over on the side of the road.
Am I free to go or am I detained? Yeah. Come on.
That's what we're calling hostages now. Detained. You know, I've got one. Since we're going with the Veterans Day theme here, you'll like this. According to The Nation, military affiliation is today the single strongest predictor of extremist mass violence in America. So, I guess if we're targeting shooters, they say military is that's how they tag you. So, Jerry, I guess you're a potential mass shooter according to The Nation. I got one question though. Does this make everyone in Chicago a veteran?
I think so.
Baltimore?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. They're all vets. Happy Veterans Day to them. How about this one? We're gonna come off X, and this one hurts my heart a little bit, but it's Donald Trump. All right, I had to do it. Donald Trump post on Truth. Wow, Daniel Cameron of Kentucky's made a huge surge. Now they see my strong endorsement and the fact that he's not really a McConnell guy. They only try to label him that because he comes from the great state of Kentucky. Anyway, go Daniel. Great future for you and your state. You'll bring it to a new level of success.
Oh, posts that aged
Daniel
like
Cameron
milk.
Lost because he couldn't alleviate the stench of Mitch McConnell. I told him earlier that's a big burden. I moved him up 25 points, but because the McConnell relationship was too much to bear, Tate Reeves, on the other hand, surged for a win as governor in Mississippi after my involvement.
It should be mentioned that McConnell's own chief of staff, and by the way, I'm not a McConnell fan, but like McConnell's own chief of staff ran in Kentucky this last election and won by like 35 points. So
wow, so it's not a McConnell issue.
I don't know if that one. Well, speaking of elections, this is from Frank Luntz. He says Ronna McDaniel, chairwoman of the RNC, is the GOP's secret weapon. An amazing speaker and smart strategist. Now, I don't know if you know anything about strategy, Jerry, but
for who, the left?
Smart strategy is losing 6 years in a row. I mean, that strategy, man. I tell you what, that's the sleeper of all sleepers.
Hey, did you see Vivek last night? He said, if you want to come on stage and resign, I'll allow you.
And then I saw this, I was talking to the Daily Caller about this. As soon as the debate was over and everyone else is shaking hands, I noticed he walked by everyone and didn't shake anybody's hand. I thought, okay, he's being Mr. Big Tough Guy. No, he hopped off the stage and started arguing with Ronna McDaniel on the front row. I don't like Vivek. I think he's a used car salesman, but dude, that was pretty great.
So I said he's the Indian Obama with Trump swag. So how about this one? When you champion Black Lives Matter and Me Too for 4 years, only to elect an old white guy who sniffs little girls and written legislation that imprisoned thousands of black people. Right? What are we doing?
All right, I got one for you. So this one's from Politico. And Politico, so do you remember the Jewish man who was beaten to death in a California protest by pro-Hamas people? Yeah,
is that with the megaphone or something like that?
Right. So This is how Politico described the murderer. Man involved in confrontation with Jewish protester who died, called 911 and cooperated with police. So there you go. Yeah, sure, may have committed first-degree murder, but then he called 911 and he didn't run off when the police showed up. Oh my gosh.
Hey, so for this next one, I think we have some audio if you want to go ahead and play that. But this is the Democrat candidate who lost. He was asked by a member of the police because he was the first Democrat that was elected to the Carmel City Council. And they asked him, what have you done in your term for our relationship? And he's asking specifically the relationship between the police and what would be the mayor's office. So if you want to go ahead and roll that and see what his answer is.
Yeah, let's see what Miles for Carmel had to say.
During your time on the city council, what specifically have you done that's impacted our members?
Impacted our members. All right, so some of the things that I'm really proud of is spearheading a resolution to get Carmel carbon neutral by the year 2050.
So that's his big claim to fame. Oh, yeah, that's what Carmel needs. That's what Indianapolis needs. We need to be carbon neutral. Yeah. Oh my! No wonder
so
this dude lost to Sue Finkham.
Yeah, I want to be carbon neutral. That has nothing to do with what we just asked you, sir.
Find me an FOP member or a police officer who says that, and I will find you a guy who's screwing with you.
Oh, man. God,
what are we going to do with these people, Jerry? Well, that is all for Awful Tweets this week. We will be back the same time next week. You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
A lightning strike.
Your city.
Caused a fire at an elementary school in Brownsburg.
Your state.
Trees down, power lines down, and roof damage.
2 tornadoes confirmed in southern Indiana.
17 poles were snapped during the storms, and some big lines were brought down.
Your country.
Open fire at the Allen Premium Outlet.
I wish that passing gun laws solved the problem.
America is more divided.
On air, on your smart speaker.
And we got to come together.
And WIBC.com.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros. We recently saved a 50-year-old couple over $300 per month when compared to their old individual plan. We recently saved a family of 4 over $400 per month when compared to their quote on healthcare.gov. We are now entering the crazy enrollment season when our federal government will spend millions telling us that healthcare.gov is our only good option for quality healthcare. Whether it's called healthcare.gov, Affordable Care Act, or it's still Obamacare, don't let the federal government or their big insurance company cronies tell you that you don't have a choice. Give us a call at 317-563-0868 or go to rragency.org. That's 317-563-0868 or rragency.org. If you don't call us, we can't help you. Quoting the great Dr. Duke Tomato, Lord, please help our Colts. And as always, God bless America, or at least what's left of her.
13%. Right now, you can get a 13% bonus when you invest your money. That's right. When you invest $100,000, you get a $13,000 bonus right out of the gate. Hey, it's Hammer and Nigel. Not only will you get a 13% bonus, you could also get a competitive return, an average of 7% a year for the past 10 years. And don't forget about the 13% bonus.
And look, you'll sleep well knowing your money is backed by one of the largest insurance companies in the world. Learn more from Bill Demery, your retirement guy, right here in Indy. He's my retirement guy. Let him be your retirement guy. Just call 317-648-5120. That's 648-5120. This 13% bonus won't last long. 648-5120. Tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you. Past performance is no guarantee of future returns.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here, and the holidays are right around the corner, which means all the food prep, and then you throw everything down the garbage disposal. Don't let a clogged kitchen sink ruin your holiday spirit. Consider upgrading to a premium disposal before it's too late. Call my friends at Hope Plumbing today for a premium garbage disposal and get $200 off. Leave the dirty work to Hope Plumbing so you can get back to your holiday fun. Visit hopeplumbing.com for all their holiday specials.
Life is all about enjoying the little moments. Don't miss out on them because of unexpected heart issues. At Community Health Network, you receive heart care you can trust. From simple screenings to life-saving diagnostic and interventional cardiology services, we offer it all, so you can get back to the moments that matter. Learn more about our services at ecommunity.com/heart. Community Health Network. Exceptional care simply delivered.
Got an emergency on the weekend? We're here for you at B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains.
Just go to bplusw.com. B&W is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Hey, we're pretty social people at WIBC. You can find us all over social media. See what we're up to on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. We're never more than just away. Just search for 93 WIBC. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening, and thanks. If I might take a moment and say thank you for sticking with us. I know there have been a few audio and video issues ranging from the live stream second segment. The first week of the show is kind of a feat to get through, digging through all of the shenanigans going on.
It's hard to keep track of all the health information that comes your way, but you still want to make the right decisions. Here's an easy one. Get tested for hepatitis C. It's a leading cause of liver cancer and often has no symptoms. People born from 1945 to 1965 are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. The good news is that now it can be cured. Talk with your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. Know for sure. A message from the CDC. Were you born from 1945 to 1965? Have you heard of hepatitis C? Hepatitis C is a leading cause of liver cancer, yet it often has no symptoms. And people born from 1945 to 1965 are 5 times more likely to have it. But here's some good news. Treatments are now available that can cure hepatitis C,
so the best part
which is why you should talk with your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
So we like to keep you on your toes around here. And the number one way that we do this is making sure that, well, number one, I am constantly trying to figure out different audio aspects here at the studio. Allison's doing a phenomenal job on the board over in Indianapolis. And in this entire process, all I can tell you is I'm just thankful to not have been swatted. And quite honestly, I had a great conversation with the Greenfield Police Department. And at this point, everything should be fine. Everything should be fine. But all of those things said, there's a weird trend going on around the country in which a host of individuals have resorted to interacting with everyone, whether it's on a college campus, whether it's in a restaurant, whether you're having an altercation with your friendly neighborhood mailman, by whipping out the identity. And I don't just mean the identity is in your license and perhaps a badge, as a movie from the 70s might have done. No, whipping out the identity in these days is done in a slightly different manner. And quite honestly, it gets pretty entertaining because at the end of the day, through all of the shenanigans, whenever you have an insane woke weirdo who is telling someone about how oppressed that they are, there is a police officer that is paid far too little on the other end who is dealing with it. This is an individual who was pulled over because she was driving into oncoming traffic, as you do. And this is what it was like when the cops started dealing with her. You can see some of this interaction on the live stream on YouTube. If you're listening on the air on 93.1 out of Indianapolis, you'll just have to listen. Here's what that looked like.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Why are you driving in the wrong way of traffic?
No, I just got changed around. I just moved here like 2 months ago.
Okay.
I just got changed around.
Okay.
So at the start, this sounds like kind of a normal situation. You were driving into traffic. What happened? I just got turned around, got caught on a one-way street. This has never happened to me in Indianapolis, but I can see this happening. It goes downhill from here.
Do you understand what's going on, though?
Yes.
You're going into oncoming traffic.
I know, and I just decided that it was better just to turn around really quick.
Okay.
But I'm sorry. I just have really bad social anxiety and stuff.
I get you.
So already having issues because people that feel the need to tell you about how bad their social anxiety are likely don't really have social anxiety. They're just really annoying. And I'm going to prove it to you. Keep listening.
I don't want to step out whenever you're asking for stuff.
Okay, well, we're past that. Just go ahead and step out.
As an Indigenous person.
As an Indigenous person. Okay. So, we have an individual who was driving into oncoming traffic. This individual is special. And in this particular time, the officer has ascertained that she might be under the influence of something because she's acting kind of weird. So he's going to bring her out of the car and he's going to ask her to do some tests. Because when you're driving wonky, let's say you're Jim Lucas driving down I-69 and you're driving like an idiot, perhaps drunk, the cop has a right to pull you out of the car and check that you aren't putting other motorists in danger. So here's how she reacts to that.
Right back here, please. Miss Perry?
Well, I'm non-binary, so.
Okay. What do you go by?
It's Kai.
How can I refer to you tonight? Kai? Okay. Hey,
So the officer here is being the trooperest of troopers that's ever troopered because she has now told him unrelatedly that she's Indigenous. Which, by the way, I don't know if any of you knew this. I am actually a card-carrying member of the Cherokee Nation. Not like Elizabeth Warren, who's won 1,024th. I actually have my little BIA card and get 20% off at casinos. I am an actual honest-to-God Native American. However, I've never felt the need to tell a police officer that when I've been pulled over. I've also never driven into oncoming traffic and gotten combative about it before, but that's neither here nor there. She then says that she's non-binary. So the officer's just trying, how am I going to refer to you? He's being very placative. He's trying his best, and she's not going to have any of it.
I'm smelling alcohol.
I know.
How much have you consumed tonight?
Like probably 3 drinks.
I need to run you.
Okay. So he says, I smell alcohol on your breath. And she goes, oh no, because she's caught. Like Jim Lucas, she's been caught drunk driving. And so now he's going to run some tests, like cops do.
Through some tests right now. Stand facing me, please.
But I just want you to know that I also have very bad social anxiety.
You and me both. Okay. Any recent head trauma, traumatic brain injuries, anything I need to know about?
Mental, yes.
Focus on my finger, please.
I am. You're just like trying to intimidate me.
I don't know how I'm trying to do that. This is the test.
As you know, as an Indigenous person, and there's a bunch of going around, I'm sorry.
So he's going to try to track her motion because she's drunk and she's, ingested a lot of depressants. And he waves his hand around in front of her and she says, I'm Indigenous again. So that's fantastic, just in case the officer wants to bring up the Bureau of Indian Affairs, I guess.
Sorry, but it's just for me to be on my toes.
I get you.
Can you remember that I told you that I'm non-binary?
Yeah, I'll try my hardest. I'll refer to you as Kai, right?
Yes.
Perfect. I need to know if you have any injuries or anything that would prevent you from doing a standard walk or turn tonight.
Mental health.
Any physical injuries?
Mental, yeah. But no, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Mental, PTSD, depression, anxiety.
I get you.
What else you want?
Now with your right foot, place it in front of your left in a heel-to-toe touching manner with your arms by your side, just like this, ma'am.
Can you not call me ma'am, please?
I'm trying my hardest.
Okay, well.
Okay.
It means a lot to me.
I'm trying my hardest.
I don't feel like a man, so.
Okay.
It's kind of triggering.
Right foot in front of your left. Nope, go back.
I'm sorry, but the whole man thing just like...
I apologize. Let's see if we can move forward from it. You have 0 questions?
No, but I just want to tell you that I suffer from really bad anxiety, especially with generational trauma and PTSD around white people and cops. Like,
white people and cops. So first of all, the cop, I looked later on, is not white. But of course, when it comes to woke people, it's all about how you look to them. And I had that with colleagues when I was at Indianapolis Public Schools. So the cop is white. That's why he's upset that she's been drinking and driving.
It's just,
I'm going to speak with you right over here, okay?
No.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and place your hands behind your back.
Don't, dude.
Don't make it hard.
Please.
Don't make it hard.
No.
So I'll save you the rest of this video. She failed the test. The blood test and the breathalyzer also came back. She is raging drunk. And she decided the best move was to start complaining that the officer was racist and that he was bigoted and all kinds of super duper phobic. And this is what the country's like now. And the role models that they have, you can see crying on the floor of Congress because they're accusing everyone of saying Palestinian people are disposable. As Tlaib said, yet no one has ever made that claim ever. And then you have individuals who are now wasting all of our officers' valuable time because apparently if you're Native American, non-binary, have some kind of social PTSD, not like real PTSD, like someone who's a survivor of sexual assault or someone who's gone to war, but like PTSD is in someone said you look like a woman because you're a woman. That's now considered socially acceptable behavior. And again, these were the kinds of things that originally we all kind of laughed at as the most obscure form of obscure in the 90s, that now there's a very good bet that you could run into this kind of nonsense when you're out on the street. So I would like to encourage you all as we end on this fair evening, you too could qualify for the Oppression Olympics. Dig up any interesting facts about your race, about your genitals, and get ready to whip those out. Those are the facts, not your genitals, at the next officer you come in contact with. That's about it for this evening. This has been the Tony Kinnett Cast. I'm Tony Kinnett. Christ is King, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Around here, it's a little less about presence and a little more about presence. To sell